In today's episode, I interviewed Debbie Brown, who was a math teacher and retired after 30 years in 2015. Learn how she's currently rocking her retirement by becoming her church's social butterfly. She's always been a pastor's wife, but now she can spend her time visiting and creating social activities and generally just having fun. Learn how she's rocking her retirement in today's episode of Rock Your Retirement.
Talking with people about how to have a great retirement. This is the Rock Your Retirement Show. We don't talk about money, but we talk about almost everything else you need to rock your retirement. Now, here's your host, Kathy Klein.
Our guest today is Debbie Brown, and Debbie is a retired school teacher. Debbie, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Well, my name is Debbie Brown. I was a middle school math teacher, but I taught math for 6th grade on up through 12th grade in both private and public school. I taught for about 30 plus years and retired last June.
Wow. So it has been now, about 7-8 months, something
7
like
months.
that? And so when you were a little girl, did you always want to be a teacher, or how did that happen?
Never wanted to be a teacher. Was absolutely convinced I did not want to be a teacher. My only experience in teaching was teaching in Sunday school, and that wasn't fun. Didn't enjoy that because kids were only there once a week, so I didn't have any control over them. But I was a banker for 15 years.
Oh, a banker.
And I had taught computers to other bankers, and my husband was a principal and wanted to hire me in his private school to teach computers because I'd been teaching computers to bankers. So that's how I got started in teaching. And
So was it kicking and screaming or willingly?
No, it really wasn't. It worked out well. Like I say, I had been teaching in the banking industry to adults, and so I gave it a try because it was computers. It was a private school. I didn't even have a teaching credential because...
You don't need one in a private school.
Well, yeah, but also at that time, computers were so new in schools, there was no credential for teaching computers.
Right.
How long ago was that?
We won't say.
So anyway, so I taught at National University Schools, which doesn't even exist now, but it was a lab school. And so I
But
earned
was that affiliated with National University?
Yes, and I was able to get my credential and my degree for free at National because I was working there.
Oh, that's
And
really cool.
So that was really cool. So I taught computers to kids, high school and middle school kids, and got my credential and found out I loved teaching math. And so I ended up teaching math.
Wow. I did not know that about you.
The secret is out.
That is pretty cool. So you didn't want to be a teacher, started teaching, and then decided that you loved it and finished that off throughout your career.
It was also really nice because when I actually after I left National and I went into teaching in another private school, my children were attending that school. And my oldest was in 3rd grade and my youngest was in preschool there, and my middle daughter was in kindergarten or maybe just going into 1st grade. And so I was there teaching at their school, and so that really saved a lot of family time.
Did they like it, though?
They loved it. In fact, I taught all of my girls, and like I say, I taught middle school and high school. My first Algebra 2 class I taught to 11th graders was my oldest daughter. My middle daughter, I taught several classes of math, and my youngest, I think, taught her algebra or something, just one of the math classes. And they loved it. They loved having Mom there. And Dad was the principal there, or actually he was principal and superintendent there. So
Wow, that's great.
Family affair.
Yeah, and hopefully your kids weren't in trouble. Because then they'd be in trouble at school and at home. So so that's a little bit about what you did, and I know that you've been on a couple of trips since you retired. Didn't you just get back from one?
Just got back from a 5-day cruise, and right after I retired in August, I retired in June, and in August we went took the whole family, just all the adults anyway, on a 7-8 day cruise.
Wow, where was that?
Went to the Caribbean on that one, Western Caribbean.
And how was that trip?
That was awesome. Love cruising with our kids. In fact, our last cruise that we just took just last week was the two of us. And I love being with my husband, and we just had a great time. But I said to him at one point, I miss the kids being here because the kids they're fun and they're funny, and kind of missed having them to interact with. But.
So now you know. Maybe the next cruise you'll take them.
Ha! The problem with that is it's expensive for mom and dad to take the kids.
That is true. That is true. You know, in my past life, I've mentioned this before with other guests, but I used to be a financial advisor, and I have clients who have lots and lots and lots and lots of money, and they're waiting to let their kids inherit it. And I always tell them, don't do that. That money will be spent in 18 months.
Yeah.
Build memories. If you're in your 80s and you're waiting, to pass money on to your children and grandchildren, build some memories with those kids, because
so much more important.
And it lasts forever.
Yeah.
The money that you've saved all your life goes surprisingly quickly if you leave it to somebody.
Somebody who didn't earn it. Yeah.
Exactly.
We've taken 2 cruises now with the 8 of us, the 3 girls, their 3 husbands, and the 2 of us, and we have loved cruising with the family. But it does get expensive because we kind of carry the load a little bit. Not all of it, but most of it.
Yeah, that's when my parents take us places. They tend to pay for it too. So tell me about when you retired. Were you prepared to retire, or did it come on suddenly? Tell us about when you retired. Were you prepared to retire, or did it come on suddenly?
I've always said that when I enter my classroom in August, right before the next year, that if it wasn't the feeling of, I'm glad to be back. I remember walking in going, oh, this room smells so good. It smelled like my classroom. Of course, I've been in the same classroom for 16 years, but
that's a long time to be in a classroom.
I loved my room. But if I couldn't walk in and feeling great about it, then I was going to be ready. And this last year, I walked in and I didn't feel great about it. We'd had a difficult year before, some difficulties with administration, the new Common Core standards with the government. They were going to implement some new requirements for teachers and how we were going to handle the special ed situation. And I thought, no, I just don't think I want to do this anymore. So I planned all year to retire in June. And June came and I was done. And I felt good to be done. I was finished, yeah.
You were just done. So when you went from working basically 2,000 hours a year to nothing, what happened?
Well, I wish it were nothing, but it wasn't nothing. My husband's a pastor.
Okay.
And so he's pastor of the Lake Church in Lake San Marcos. And I had been being a pastor's wife for the past several years and was doing that part-time, and I was going to get to do that full-time. And so I have been really busy with that. The same time, like I said, we took our family on a cruise. My husband's mother passed away, and we had to go back to.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you. We had to go back to Oklahoma and settle things there, and it got real busy for the summer. It didn't really hit me that I was retired until December, because we have that 2-week Christmas vacation.
Right.
And at the end of 2 weeks, it dawned on me that I didn't have to get everything done in that 2 weeks, that I could keep going and getting things accomplished at home. And my poor daughter, who's a school teacher also, had to go back. And so it's like, oh, poor baby. But oops.
So you retired in June, but you didn't really retire until December.
Didn't really retire until December. And so in January, after the Christmas holidays, it was like, oh, wow. And so then I started thinking about all the fun things that I could do, and most of them with the church, visiting people, calling people who I didn't see on Sunday, things that not everybody can get to. Spent a lot of time on my email and jotting notes to people and my texts and saying, hi, missed you yesterday. Can I come by and see you? So I'm having a good time with that.
That's nice. Would you say that your role as pastor's wife, which is a different role, we don't have a lot of guests that are pastor's wives. And in my introduction, I talk about social, spiritual, soul. Would you say that your role as pastor's wife is more social? Or would you say it's more spiritual, or sort of somewhere in between?
Right now, I think it's more social. I do plan on starting my own Bible study in the next couple of months. So it's going to become a little bit more spiritual. It's more of a helping the spiritual leader for my husband, Jim. But right now, it's a lot more social.
And that's important.
It is important, and it's fun. I mean, our congregation has a tendency to be a little bit older. We live in what's considered, it's not really, but it's considered to be a retirement community. And although it's not technically that, it's
A lot of older people.
a lot of older people, admittedly. And so, like, I walked up to one yesterday at church and said to her, and she's a sweet gal. She's in her late 80s. She has lost a leg. And so she was in her wheelchair, and I gave her a hug, and I said, Jean, can I come see you this week? And she goes, yes. And one of the other gals sitting next to her said, come see me too.
Aww.
You know, so I said, okay, I'll come see you too, Marlene, you know. So that's fun. I can go out and visit the people who Jim's not going to get to. We've got a congregational nurse who visits the sick, and that's not my thing. So I want to visit the not sick, but
You want to visit the fun people.
Yeah, and still the ones who really want a visit, you know.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there are a lot of lonely people out there, and that's one of the reasons why I started this show, is to help people really plan out their retirement that has nothing to do with money.
Yeah.
You know, everybody thinks that retirement has to do with money. And I had clients that had lots and lots of money, but they were miserable. And I had clients that, you know, were living in a mobile home and they were having the time of their lives. So it's not all about money. And that's why we talk about all of the different aspects. And it sounds right now you're rocking it socially.
I'm having fun.
That's right. So what else are you thinking about doing? Are you thinking about doing more traveling, maybe going overseas, or just really focusing on your volunteer, and I would call it volunteer work?
Yeah, it's pretty much volunteer. They don't pay the pastor's wife. I don't know
They
why.
don't?
No. Probably focusing mainly on that. We are thinking about more travel, nothing overseas. But what we're considering now, and this is really unique, and that is we can travel whenever we want to.
Which you couldn't do before.
Which we couldn't do before. We had to travel in the summer when everybody was on vacation with their kids. So we're thinking of another cruise or at least a trip up to the Northwest during the fall to see the changing of colors of leaves. Never seen
nice.
that. Want to see that. The last cruise we took was a Monday through Friday cruise. You know, it was like, oh, this is nice. We didn't have to miss church. And there
weren't any kids probably.
And there were very, very few kids. I mean, like, I think I counted 4.
Not that kids are bad, but
no, but you know. I love kids, and that's something else. Speaking of kids, that's something else I get to do. I get to spend time with my grandkids.
Aww.
My middle daughter homeschools her 4 kids.
Wow, that's a big job.
Yeah, and so I get to help with that. And she calls me for advice on math, although she's brilliant herself when it comes to that. But she calls me for advice on math, and she calls me for advice on. She's got one kid who says, "Mom, I hate school." You're at home. You're in bed. You're doing your homework while you're sitting on your bed. What's wrong with this? But so I've given her some suggestions on how to deal with that. My other daughter occasionally works out of the home. Not often, but she occasionally works out of the home and says, "Mom, can you watch the kids?" So sure, I'm available to do that now. It's
and
so
they're
much
local.
nicer. And they're all local. I've got 3 daughters, and they're all local. All of them within 15-minute drive.
Oh, that is so nice to have your family right here, and that is so unusual in California.
Yeah. And our family's so important to us. We get together a lot. Something else the retirement has allotted me in that getting together with the grandkids, and that is that when she would ask me, either of my daughters would ask me on a weekend to watch the kids, it was like, wait, this is our only day off. I've only got Saturdays. We're really busy on Sundays, and I'm busy Monday through Friday, and she would ask me to watch the kids on a Saturday, and it was like, oh.
Do I have to?
Exactly, and I love my grandkids, but it was like, that's our only day off. And so now it's not that big of a deal. They can ask me during the week, and they can ask me, and they're getting used to the idea that Mom's not going to groan anymore when they ask me to watch the kids.
That's so nice.
Yeah,
and you can, determine if you want to or not.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's really good.
They don't overuse it either. That's nice.
That is nice. I have a friend who actually moved away. She moved to the East Coast to be with her grandkids. So it's nice that you didn't have to move. You're right here, and so are they. So that's very
cool.
That's really nice. So what about now you're in a congregation of older adults, and you've seen some of them get sicker, are you doing anything to maintain your health, or is that part of your retirement plan?
Part of the retirement plan, but we are working out, try to work out 3 days a week. We actually have started working with a personal trainer.
Oh, that's great.
A couple of days a week, just to this is an appointment I have to keep, because if I don't, I'm probably not going to do it as often as I should. So,
I understand that completely.
so yeah, have started making, yeah. And that's the thing is, we have seen people get sick and frail, and I want to be able to pick up my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids. I want to be able to toss them around and have fun with them. I don't want to be so old and frail that I can't do anything. So,
well, working with a personal trainer, I think, definitely helps. And a lot of people don't, they don't think about it, but that personal accountability can really motivate you.
Yeah, well, you don't have a choice, and if you get up and have a choice, it's like, oh, I don't feel like it. I'll do it later today. Really, I will. Yeah, right. But, and we have an appointment at 7:00 in the morning. And so it's get up, have the coffee, get over there and see the personal trainer, because he's there waiting for us. And how rude would it be to not show up,
That's right. And plus you'd have to pay for the session even if you didn't show.
Exactly. So. Good point. Speaking of finances.
Oh, let's see. So what is one thing that you have been able to do besides watch your grandkids that you would have not been able to do if you did not retire? Can you think of anything?
Oh, that's hard. Because watching the grandkids is a big one. Going on mini vacations during the week is a big one.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and
doing things during the week.
Yeah, and that's been really nice.
So really being in control of your own time.
Yeah, and that's really what it amounts to. And things like cooking. I love to cook. And so I can think about. And it's not just wait until Saturdays when I can fix a big meal. It's like, oh, we have nothing on the schedule for tonight. I get to plan a meal.
That's wonderful. So. And for those of you who are listening to this show, she's actually cooking dinner for us tonight. So I can't wait until we get done with this interview so that I can taste her delicious food.
You're funny.
So tell me about a typical day now that you're retired. What's your typical day, if there is one?
Oh, there's really not one, but I do have some things that happen regularly. One of the unusual things that happens is my get-up time is the same. I used to get up between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning.
And you still get up between 4 and 5 in the morning?
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's because I had trained I remember at one point, a long time ago, thinking, I had a friend who woke himself up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, I wish I could do that. I don't want to deal with an alarm clock anymore. So I started training myself to get up without an alarm clock. I haven't used an alarm clock in years. And so my body still wakes up. So get up, put on the coffee, sit down, have my devotional.
Do you go to bed at the same time?
Yeah, and it's usually pretty early.
Well, that's why you're getting up at 5 o'clock.
But even if I go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, I
still get up at 5.
Wake up at between 4 and 5. Sometimes 6, but not often. And my husband's the same way. So Jim's up earlier. He's usually up before I am. So,
So it works out.
Yeah, it works out very well. And so we're up early. We read and drink coffee and occasionally watch the news. Not often, but occasionally watch the news. And then say, okay, what's next on and just check the calendar and start getting to work on whatever we've got planned. Usually it's either dinner or getting together with friends, and then settle down and have a glass of wine and watch something on TV and then crash.
So what's your favorite TV show?
You'll laugh. We don't watch anything on live TV.
We don't either. We record everything.
We record everything. And so I'll mention this later, but we watch Love Boat occasionally.
Love Boat?
Yeah, Love Boat.
So I guess that's why you like cruising.
Yeah. So we watched, and our first cruise was when Love Boat came out. Our ship was like Love Boat's ship. It really was. But anyway, that was our first one. But so we watch Hawaii Five-0.
Okay.
But all the older
old ones.
Not the old ones, but the older versions of the new one.
Okay, so the ones that you
the ones that are out, but we don't wait for them to come out on TV, so we've already seen them.
Okay.
And Jag, you ever heard of Jag?
I have.
Jag.
We used to watch that. Is that still on?
No, but we got the recordings of it.
Right. That's what you watch.
And then every night before we fall asleep, we watch an episode of MASH.
MASH. So all the shows you watch are old shows. You don't watch any of the new shows.
Right. Except Hawaii Five-0 is newer. And
Right.
there are some that are still playing, and we're not quite into that season yet. And if we do get into that season that's playing now, we'll go back and watch last season first so we can kind of...
So do you have cable?
Yeah.
So you're paying for cable, but you're not really using it. Maybe you should switch to Netflix.
Well, we do watch our news occasionally in the morning, and our cable comes packaged with our internet. And so
Okay, that's my financial planner in me. Why are you
I
paying for
know,
cable?
And we've thought about getting rid of it, but then we say things like, on the 28th of this month, our children are all coming over, and we're having a great Oscar party. We have one every year, and if we didn't have cable, how could we watch the Oscars that night?
I don't know.
See?
I wonder if there's a way to watch it online.
I don't know.
Probably not.
But
Maybe we
the
should
girls-
check that out.
Because the girls will be here, and they're going to want to watch the Oscars, and we have a big Oscar party at my house every year.
Okay, so do you dress up?
And, dress up and fix meals according to what the shows are.
Okay, so are you wearing tiaras and long
No,
dresses?
not
or...
that. No, usually we dress in depending on what the winning shows are.
Oh, so you're not dressing up like the actresses?
No,
dress
although
up.
we have done that.
You have. Do you have the little flashing cameras as you walk in the
but
red carpet?
We do have the red carpet, and we've got a swag bag for everybody.
Oh, that's fun. That is fun, hysterical. So you definitely are the social director.
No, actually, my kids kind of direct that one.
Okay, but still, you're sort of the, being the mom. You're the center.
This is the place where everything happens.
That's
So
great.
They plan their kids' birthday parties. It's going to be at Grandma's house. They plan the Oscar party. She sends out an Evite for the Oscar party, and it's just our family.
That's funny. Well, she wants to know who's coming.
That's right. And we're in menu planning mode right now. So
That's fantastic. Did you have a Super Bowl party?
we went to a Super Bowl party. We
You
didn't
did?
have one. Yes, we went to one though.
Well, it'd be hard to plan one on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's really. Sorry, I can't make it to church. I'm busy getting ready for my Super Bowl
Yeah,
party.
sorry. I actually went to a Super Bowl savvy event. One of my vendors, because I still work, one of my vendors invited me to a ladies' event to teach us all about the Super Bowl terms, and it was actually here at the St. Mark's Golf Club.
Oh, really?
It was really fun. It was really fun. If any of you ladies don't really watch Super Bowl and you have the opportunity to go to one of these Super Bowl savvy events, they are hysterically funny. I had a great time.
Good to know. Well, we, a bunch of us girls got together and played a game while the Super Bowl was going on in the background. And we had, I think there were 5 TVs in the house, and everybody's in a different room watching the Super Bowl. And they yelled commercial if a commercial came on, and then we looked up and watched that for a while.
Right, not really paying attention to the football,
I
just
had no clue.
the commercials.
Could care less. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're deeply interested in who won.
Yeah, love football. Ugh.
Yes. Well, at least we have our Chargers for one more year, at least. So
I'm sorry. I'm still mad at them.
I am too. And my hypothesis is that they lost because they were all mad that they were thinking that they were going to be forced to move to Los Angeles. So, and that's another thing. Why did the Los Angeles keep calling whenever I listened to an LA radio show? They would say, "Oh, the Chargers are thinking about moving to Southern California."
Excuse me?
And I'm like, "Excuse me? Hello, San Diego's about as far south as you can get. We are Southern California." That is definitely a pet peeve of mine. Do not say Southern California and not include San Diego.
Oh, I don't know where this show goes out to, so I better not make my comments about San Diego versus Carson or Inglewood. I'm sorry.
Well, podcasts are actually... They can be international.
Oops.
But that's okay. That's fine. I think I love San Diego. That's why I live here.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, we are, let's see. So we talked about your typical day that was different from a typical day in your work life, although you get up at the same time.
Yeah, but the typical day is different. I do not go to school and teach 8 hours, so this is nice.
Right. You're out
And
socializing with your friends.
exactly. But it's really about freedom. It's really about the freedom to do what I choose to do.
That is great.
That's so nice.
That is great. And one of the nice things is you don't choose to sit around.
Oh, that TV is never, ever on during the day.
And when it is, it's when it's on, it's watching old shows.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people they wind up getting unhealthy because they don't know what to do with their time. You know, they had 2,000 hours that was filled before they retired. They retired without having a plan. And I think you had a plan. Your plan was to become more involved in your church.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you're rocking it by really doing the social things that you weren't able to do before.
When my husband and I have people say to us that I'm going to retire, and then we'll look at them and we'll say, well, look, people are living a lot longer. So you've got maybe 20, 25 years, 30 years left. What are you going to do then? If you're going to retire, what are you going to do? Because you've got to plan on having something to do. You can't just sit and do nothing or you are going to die.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. I visited somebody the other day in my job, and that's what he does. He sits and watches TV, and he is very, very ill. And I'm actually praying for him. He is very, very ill, and I think part of it is because he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, he sits and he watches TV, and that's about it. And that's number one way for you to get sick.
That's right.
And be unhealthy. So you haven't been retired for very long.
No.
But what do you wish you would have known before you retired?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I wish I would have known that I can live on less money. Because, to be honest, there's less money coming in. They're not paying me my salary. Like some jobs continue to pay 100% of your salary, and mine didn't. But, of course, I believe God provides. And so it's all working out. We still got the money to do what we want to do. And if I'd known that, I probably would have retired a little bit sooner. What? I don't need to work?
I don't need all this money. And when you retire, you're not spending all that money on gas.
Boy, that's the truth. That's the truth. I'm amazed at how little I fill my car up now. It's like, oh, wow.
So that's the one thing is that you wish you would have known that you really didn't need all that money.
Yeah, I wish I would have known that. And I think I would have retired sooner, at least a year sooner, if not before that.
Okay. Last question. We have a lot of listeners who are new retirees or maybe who feel stuck in their lives at the current moment. If you were sitting across the table from a new retiree, what is the one piece of advice that you would give for them to have a successful retirement?
Get involved. Get involved in your community. Get involved with your family. Get involved with your church. Get involved. Find something to do. Volunteer at a hospital. Don't just sit around and stare at the computer or stare at the TV. Find something where you can give back.
That is great advice. Well, thank you, Debbie Brown, so much. It has been such a pleasure for you to invite me to your lovely home. And we really, really appreciate the fact that you came on this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks for listening to the Rock Your Retirement Show. If you are rocking your retirement or know someone who would make a great guest on our show, please send us an email at podcast@rockyourretirement.com.
If you would like to comment on our episodes, you can go to rockyourretirement.com. You can also call our comment line at 858-8-ROCKIT, which is 858-876-2548. You may also want to subscribe to the show. This allows you to listen in your car, listen while you walk your dog, go to the gym, or do the dishes. Just go to the iPhone podcast application and search for Rock Your Retirement. If you have an Android phone, you can subscribe using Podcast Addict.
Has your doctor told you to exercise more, but then you wondered how much more and which exercises would be best to get the results you want? I'm fitness trainer Christine Burke. I'd like to help answer your questions so you can start exercising and get some great results sooner. Right now, Rock Your Retirement podcast listeners can get free tips and a special offer by going to my website at lightheartedfitness.com/ROCK. That's lightheartedfitness.com/rock for the Rock Your Retirement special offer.